What's up everyone and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be sharing 5 group riding tips with you, so stick around.
AfroBiker.
If like me, you ride a motorcycle, you would have experienced a lack of connection with the rest of the population. Every time you bump into somebody that doesn't ride and in the middle of the conversation they ask you, what do you do for fun? And you mention something remotely related to riding motorcycles, the most common question that follows is, isn't it dangerous? My uncle had a terrible accident on a motorcycle. And in as much as these comments or questions have truth to them, they don't necessarily encompass everything that comes with the riding experience. But when you do bump into somebody that rides, maybe at the shops or something, and they see your bike, they'll be like, hey, that's a nice bike. I bet the torque on that monster is on another level. And then you go on and on and on for hours. And maybe at the end of the conversation, they'll say to you, hey, I ride with a group. Give me a buzz if you want to join us. Some people are fortunate enough to have friends that have bikes and can ride with them. But whether you're riding with people you're familiar with or total strangers, I believe you will find some of these tips helpful. It might take some time for you to find a group that you're compatible with, a bit of trial and error. It's trial and error, right?
Yeah.
Trial. But compatibility is very important. A bonus tip would be that you find like-minded people to ride with, because the last thing you want to do is get on a Hayabusa group and you want them to go trail riding with you, or you don't want to stick out on a conservative group being the one that's doing wheelies and being all gnarly and stuff. At least where I live, the most popular platform to find riding groups would be on Facebook. I'm part of about maybe 5 of these groups, and the more you interact with different riding groups, the quicker you get to realize that there's always a different sense, a different purpose even attached to these groups. Before I get into the 5 riding tips, I just thought I would share some of the advantages and disadvantages that I've personally observed riding with groups. The first advantage that I have to share is that you get a sense of community riding with groups. Some groups will have trips planned around camping, meals, and say let's do a ride from A to B for prostate cancer awareness or something like that. Another advantage is that you get access to group chats, and in the chats you will more than likely mingle with people that have more riding experience, more mechanical experience, and they'll be more than happy to dish out tips to you. You also get good deals to reliable used motorcycles and parts. And the third advantage is an enhanced riding experience. So if you think riding by yourself is good, try riding with somebody else. Even further, try riding with a like-minded person with intercoms. It's just a totally different experience. Advantage number 4 is that as you ride with those people that are more experienced than you, they're right there present with you to see your positioning on the bike, how you're carrying yourself on the road, and they'll be able to give you constructive criticism for you to become a better rider. And lastly, this is probably the most important advantage, is that you have immediate assistance in case of an accident. So accidents are not foreign to riding motorcycles, and yes, motorcycle riding is very dangerous. If anything had to happen to you, the best position to be in is around other people where they can get emergency assistance quickly, or if after you crash your bike catches fire, they can then move you away from the bike and you're safe. But even after saying all that, there's still people that want to exclude themselves from riding with groups. And that's because riding in groups, some groups more than others, comes with disadvantages as well. So one of the disadvantages about riding in groups is that it can be toxic. Some of these groups are built around this hierarchical structure, and you have this big bad silverback sitting at the top, and they want to assert their dominance on everyone, especially the newbies. So you find yourself, especially when you're part of a group like that, or when you join a group like that, you find that you have to prove yourself to be a worthy member of this exclusive collective of riders. And some of these groups have this toxicity extending to where you're getting pressured to buy the latest and the greatest motorcycles. I remember when I first started riding and I had a 2001 ZX6R, there was this group that I rode with, and they made fun of me. They made fun of me for the bike that I had, but I had reasons to have that bike and I owned it outright. Unlike some of them that had to pay for theirs on finance just to keep up with the appearances. Disadvantage number 3, this is probably the worst one. You get exposed to mob or group mentality. So group or mob mentality is a generalized term describing the behavior of the collective, and this is normally in a negative sense. If you yourself don't normally run red lights, and then you're on this ride and then you see these 3 guys just go through this red light, because you're in a group, you just feel, this is what we're doing as a group, so I'm just gonna jump on this bandwagon. Most groups that I've interacted with have a healthy culture and don't revolve so much around the disadvantages that I've outlined. All right, now let's get into the tips, which is what this video is about after all. Tip number 1, introduce yourself. Introduce yourself, let people know who you are when you go to ride with them, especially for the first time. You don't want to be that one guy that joins a group ride and people are thinking, who's this guy? Why does he have a GoPro? Is that a Fed? So arrive early, just get yourself familiar with the rest of the group. Let them know who you are, let them know your intentions. Sometimes people want to find out how experienced you are before you jump on a group ride, just so they know how much to expect from you. And it also helps them dictate the pace of the ride. Tip number 2, riding in a staggered formation. A staggered formation is basically if you and your mate are in the same lane going that way, if your mate is here, you ride there. And the main reason for this is visibility. That way, the person in front of you will be able to see you in their side mirror. And then if you have a third person, they'll be over here. So that just means the person that's immediately behind you is offset to the side so you can see them in your side mirror. Tip number 3, shoulder checks are important, especially when you're riding in a group with other motorcycle riders. When you did your motorcycle training, your instructor would have emphasized the importance of checking your shoulders before you move to the next lane, or you just change your position in your current lane. But when you're riding in a group, because it's hard to see a motorcycle rider in a mirror, and the best way that you can guarantee there's definitely no one on your side before you move will be to check your shoulder. And sometimes even gesture with your hand, gesture with your leg before you change lanes or you change your position in your current lane. Tip number 4, ride within your ability. Do not feel pressured to lean over more than you feel comfortable to, or to go faster than your skill set can handle. But if you consciously go to a group ride saying, I will do what's within my ability to ensure that you don't have potentially catastrophic situations. And lastly, tip number 5, get the details. Get the details around what the ride is going to be about, what the group is about, how far they're going to go, because then you'll be able to ensure that you have the appropriate gear, you're dressed for the occasion, you have enough gas in your tank to ensure you're able to go the distance. Because as you know, motorcycle riding branches into so many different subcategories, and at this point I'm assuming you know which ones you fall into. So yeah guys, that's what I had to share today. I hope you found this video helpful. If you like what you see and you're not part of the tribe, feel free to subscribe. Otherwise, give us a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!